Hello? Hi, my name is Michael Nateo, and I will be presenting on reflex and reaction time. Let us begin. So really quickly, I want you guys to sit down and think a little bit about what is reaction time. You guys are all very smart. You guys know? Well, if you don't know, I'll tell you. Reaction time is how long it takes for you to react. But what are you reacting to? How are you reacting? And how long does this take? We're going to be answering this. Okay? So to help you guys understand what's going on in your body when you're reacting, I'm going to be using George here as an example. And just like you, George is a human. He has a right and left side. He has an eyes. He has a brain. And just like you, he also has neurons. And neurons are these little bitty cells in your body that send information from your nose, eyes, ears, toes about what you're feeling and sensing, right? And it sends it all to the brain, right? So I need you guys to wrap around this about this idea that the brain is processing, thinking, and taking in all this information from the neurons that are always sending it and taking information away from the brain, okay? And all these red arrows I'll be using to represent these neurons to show you guys, okay, so the fingers are feeling something and it sends the signals to the brain, right? It'll show that connection with the red arrow, okay? You guys will understand better when I show you guys an example. So let's move on. So right here we have a George, right? And let's say a ruler is falling, right? And George sees this ruler and says, I want to catch it. So he catches it. Well, what's actually going on here? And how long does this take? So let's break this down. Step 1. George sees the ruler, right? This is very important because this actually takes some time. George has to actually understand what's going on and actually see the ruler first. And when he sees it, step 2 occurs where the eyes send the signal through neurons to the brain, right? Telling him, oh, look, there's a ruler and it's falling. The brain then takes this signal and processes it, thinks on it. This is step 3, where George thinks and says, I think I want to catch this ruler. And once he finally makes that decision, his brain sends the signal, which is step 4. Step 4 sends the signal from the brain to the spinal cord, which then sends a signal in step 5 to the hand, telling him, hey, I want to catch this ruler. So his hands get the signal to close. And right as they close around the ruler and he catches it, right? So you guys need to understand that each of these steps actually takes time. Step 1, step 2, step 3, all the way to step 5. They all take just a little bit of time, maybe a couple of milliseconds, but that adds up, right? This entire reaction, right, from George seeing the ruler to grabbing it with his hand, right? This all reaction takes time, right? So your reaction time ends up being the time it takes for George or you or anyone to react to something they see, hear, or feel, okay? Hopefully you guys understand this process. And if you guys don't, I'll give you guys another example. So here again, we have George, right? This time you can see his legs. And one thing about George is that he really loves Ed Sheeran, right? And so one day, George just was walking down and he hears Ed Sheeran blasting his music and he loves it. So this is the first step, remember? He hears Ed Sheeran's music and his ears send this signal to his brain and it tells him, hey, Ed Sheeran's playing. The brain takes this information and says, I like Ed Sheeran. This is step 3. I like Ed Sheeran, and I think I want to dance to this music. So the brain makes that decision, and in step 4 sends that signal, I want to dance, through the spinal cord, to step 5 to his legs, telling his legs, hey, I want to dance. Start moving legs, so his legs start to dance, right? You start to see a pattern here, how our body needs to send these signals and steps, and each one of these steps takes time. And this time it takes to process, think, and actually get the information is called reaction time, okay? So we can actually measure how long it takes for you to react. If you have a ruler or a stick and you just have someone else drop it, right? We can measure how long it takes for you to see the ruler, process it, and then close your hand around it, just like in the old example, okay? So later on, you can try to test this with another sibling, a friend, family member, and you can just see, hey, who's reacting faster, just based off how high or low you grab on the object that's falling, okay? Now we're going to move on to reflex. Maybe some of you guys have heard of reflex, maybe not, right? If you've been to the doctor and ever seen him hit your knee with a hammer, that's called a reflex, when your hammer kicks out after he hits it, okay? So we're going to be figuring out what a reflex is. It's very closely related to reaction time, actually. So this is going to look very scary, but this is your knee, right? On the left, and see there's a hammer, your knee, and then on the right is actually your spinal cord. I know this looks very scary, very complicated, but we're going to simplify this a lot. So when the doctor hits your knee with the hammer, right, it sends a signal down your neurons, right, telling you, hey, your knee got hit. So the signal goes all the way through the spinal cord and then all the way back to the muscles in your leg and tells them, hey, you need to kick out just because. And it happens. What do you guys notice? Well, one thing I noticed is that there's actually fewer steps than before, right? If each one of these steps takes time, you have to realize that because this has 3 steps instead of 5, since 3 is less than 5, this takes less time. And that's the whole idea behind reflexes, is that it takes less time for you to process and think about your reflexes, because you don't. Notice this again, that also the reflex doesn't travel to your brain. So at first you don't realize what's going on because it happens before you can think, which is really cool and amazing. For other examples of reflex, we can probably think back to your life right now, right? If you guys have any siblings and say you guys got into a fight, right? Maybe started hitting each other or something like that, your hands might have went up because you're trying to defend yourself. And you might not think about that first, and your body might do that automatically, right? That's a reflex. Also, when your dog is biting your hand, or any animal really, and you need to defend yourself, protect your body will take action first, and your hand will start to move away, right? Because that's just a natural life instinct. From my experience, I use contacts, and sometimes you just forget to put the contact on your finger. Sometimes you notice it falls off or something like that. And when you put your finger to your eye, it hurts. So your brain immediately doesn't register this. It takes time. But you need to get your finger away. So once your eye feels, oh no, I'm being touched by something bad, it immediately sends that signal to your hand telling you, back off, get off. And it does. So then you stay safe. But your brain only realizes this later because that would take too much time. And that is your reflex. So if you guys want to experience this more or feel it more, or maybe play doctor, we will actually later make this hammer that the doctor uses to test your reflexes. And we'll be doing this during the Q&A, using rubber band, pencils, and an eraser to actually see your reflexes in motion. Okay? thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you guys learned something. Thank you.